Imagine this: you wake up tomorrow and someone insults you, betrays you, mocks you, or breaks your trust. But instead of reacting, instead of feeling hurt, instead of spiraling into anger or sadness, you feel nothing but calm. Not numbness, not denial, but a clear, grounded peace. You understand what's happening, but it doesn't shake you. It doesn't touch who you are. You are free not because the world has stopped hurting, but because it has lost the power to hurt you. This isn't fantasy. This is Stoicism. And this is the secret Marcus Aurelius left for us, not in public speeches, but in the private writings he never meant for anyone to read. In Meditations, he reveals how to never feel hurt by anyone again. And the key isn't to become cold or ruthless. It's to understand one thing: nobody can hurt you unless you believe you've been harmed. Let's break this down. When someone insults you, what actually causes the pain? Is it their words, or is it your reaction to their words? Marcus would say it's the second. He wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment." That's the secret. The pain isn't in the insult. It's in your interpretation. So, the moment you change that interpretation, you take your power back. This isn't just philosophy. It's a complete reprogramming of how we relate to other people.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound insights.
Now let me ask you something that might sting. How much of your emotional pain comes from believing that someone else has the power to define your worth? Think about it. When someone disrespects you, it only hurts if you believe their opinion matters. When someone leaves you, it only stings if you believe they completed you. When someone lies to you, it only devastates you if you expected them to be something other than human. But what if you didn't expect perfection? What if you stopped giving other people so much control over your inner world? What if you understood that hurt doesn't come from what others do, but from what you think it means? This is what Marcus Aurelius was training himself to remember every day. He ruled the most powerful empire in the world, and yet he faced betrayal, war, loss, and constant criticism. And through it all, he reminded himself, choose not to be harmed, and you won't feel harmed. Don't feel harmed and you haven't been. It sounds almost too simple, but that's the point. Life is simple until we complicate it with our assumptions, our illusions, our egos. And nothing complicates life more than the belief that we are entitled to a world that treats us fairly. But fairness is not a law of nature. People will lie. They will disappoint. They will speak without thinking. They will act from fear, anger, insecurity. And when they do, you have two choices. You can react, or you can remember who you are. You can collapse into their chaos, or you can remain rooted in your own clarity. That's what Marcus meant when he said, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." In other words, don't let someone else's behavior pull you out of your character. Don't let their darkness put out your light. Because the moment you do, they've won not by harming you, but by convincing you to harm yourself. So how do we live this? How do we actually stop feeling hurt in a world where hurt is everywhere? It starts with radical honesty. You have to ask yourself, what am I expecting from people that keep setting me up to be disappointed? Am I expecting them to always understand me, to never make mistakes, to constantly validate me? Because if you are, you're not living in reality. you're living in a fantasy. And the moment you drop that fantasy, you begin to feel free, not because people change, but because you no longer need them to. This is not about becoming emotionless. It's about becoming emotionally sovereign. It's about understanding that your peace is yours and you don't have to trade it for someone else's approval. Imagine what would change in your life if you truly believed that. If you walked into every room, every relationship, every moment knowing, I am responsible for how I feel. No one can take my peace unless I give it away. That's not arrogance, that's wisdom. That's ownership. And it's exactly what Marcus practiced day after day, in the middle of a collapsing empire, surrounded by betrayal, sickness, and death. He knew something we forget, that most people act from ignorance, not malice. That most hurtful behavior is a reflection of someone else's pain, not proof of your failure. So when someone lashes out at you, Marcus would say, when another blames you or hates you, or people voice similar criticisms, go to their souls. Penetrate inside and see what sort of people they are. You will realize that there is no need to be racked with anxiety that they hold any particular opinion about you. In other words, look deeper. Don't stop at the insult. Don't personalize the attack. Ask yourself, what must this person be going through to act this way? And then choose peace. But here's the catch. This only works if you're willing to let go of your ego. Because the ego wants to be offended. It needs to feel disrespected. It thrives on conflict, on being right, on being the victim. So if you want to live this philosophy, you have to kill the part of you that needs to win. You have to let go of the story that says, they shouldn't treat me this way. Because maybe they shouldn't, but they did. And now it's your move. Do you react, or do you rise? Marcus would tell you rise, not with pride, but with presence. Rise into your higher self, the version of you that doesn't need to get even because they've already won by staying true to their values. The version of you that doesn't need to explain, defend, or retaliate because truth doesn't need to shout. Imagine the power in that. Imagine walking through the world so grounded that no insult rattles you, no betrayal breaks you, no gossip touches you. Not because you're untouchable, but because you've stopped clinging. You've stopped expecting. You've stopped needing the world to cooperate in order for you to feel whole. So let me ask you this, what would your life look like if nothing other people said or did could hurt you anymore? Not because you built walls, but because you built wisdom. Not because you stopped caring, but because you started understanding. That's the Stoic transformation. That's the shift Marcus Aurelius made, not by escaping the world, but by mastering his mind within it. And it's available to you right now, in this moment, in the next conversation you have, in the next challenge you face. Because someone will test you. Someone will say something cruel. And when they do, you'll have a choice, suffer or see clearly, react or respond, collapse or rise. Marcus' secret isn't a technique. It's a truth. You cannot be hurt without your permission. And the moment you take that permission back, you reclaim everything. Your peace, your power, your freedom. You stop living as a mirror, reflecting the world's chaos, and you start living as a flame, steady and bright, no matter how strong the wind blows. Let's make something clear right now. Stoicism is not about becoming numb. It's not about suppressing your emotions or pretending nothing matters. That's a misunderstanding. What Marcus Aurelius was after wasn't coldness, it was clarity. He wasn't trying to feel less, he was training himself to feel rightly, and to direct his emotions toward what actually matters. Because when you understand what's truly within your control, and what isn't, you stop exhausting yourself on things that never belonged to you in the first place. And that's what emotional invincibility really is. It's not the absence of feeling, it's the presence of wisdom. It's being able to say, I feel that, but I won't be ruled by it. That's power. That's discipline. That's freedom. So let's go deeper. When someone hurts us, we tend to believe that the pain is proof of how much we care. That if we didn't feel hurt, it would mean we were disconnected or indifferent. But Marcus would flip this completely. He'd say, no, it means you're grounded in reality. Because here's the thing, caring doesn't require suffering. Compassion doesn't mean self-destruction. You can love someone, you can care deeply, and still not allow their behavior to throw you into emotional chaos. In fact, that's the highest form of love, a love that is stable, wise, and free of toxic attachment. It's a love that doesn't collapse into pain when things go wrong, because it wasn't built on need. It was built on truth. Let me ask you a hard question. Are you confusing attachment with love? Because if your happiness depends on how someone treats you, that's not love. That's dependency. And dependency will always make you vulnerable to hurt. But when you love from wholeness, when you engage with others from a place of internal strength, you no longer need to control how they act in order to feel okay. You can let them be who they are. You can let life unfold as it does. And still remain you steady, clear, unshaken. This is what Marcus trained for. He wasn't trying to escape life's messiness. He was trying to stand in the middle of it with integrity. He wrote, if someone does wrong, it is because they are mistaken. And if they are mistaken, teach them, if you can. If not, let them go. Think about the humility in that, the grace, and the clarity. He didn't take things personally, not because he didn't care, but because he saw the bigger picture. He knew that people act from their beliefs, and if their beliefs are distorted, their actions will be too. So why be hurt by someone who doesn't even understand the full effect of what they're doing? This is where emotional invincibility begins, in the refusal to take ignorance personally, in the decision to meet misunderstanding with understanding. Not because you're weak, but because you're strong enough to stay rooted in your own values. And don't mistake that for passivity. Stoicism is not about letting people walk all over you. It's about choosing your responses consciously. It's about knowing when to speak, when to walk away, and when to simply observe without judgment. It's the ultimate form of self-governance, a kind of psychological sovereignty that says, my mind is mine. Let's bring it to the real world. Someone ghosts you, or spreads a rumor, or criticizes you unfairly. What's your first reaction? Probably anger, confusion, or hurt. But now imagine you pause. You breathe. You remember Marcus' teaching, choose not to be harmed and you won't be. And instead of spiraling, you step back and ask, what is this moment teaching me? Is it reminding me to set boundaries, to let go of unrealistic expectations, but to stop outsourcing my worth? Suddenly the pain becomes a teacher. The trigger becomes a mirror. And now, instead of being wounded, you're wiser. That's the Stoic shift. That's how you become untouchable, not because life stops testing you, but because every test becomes part of your training. And when you truly embrace this mindset, something extraordinary happens. You begin to live with radical responsibility. You stop blaming. You stop waiting. You stop needing the world to cater to your emotions. And in that space you find something rare: peace. Not the kind of peace that's quiet and passive, but a fierce, unshakable peace. A peace that says, I am the master of my inner world, no matter what the outer world throws at me. That's emotional invincibility, and it's not reserved for emperors or philosophers. It's available to you right now, in this moment, in the next breath. But here's the deeper truth: you can't live like this unless you're willing to give up being the victim. And let's be honest, that's hard. Because being the victim gives us identity, but it gives us a story. It gives us sympathy, but it also gives away our power. And Marcus Aurelius would never settle for that. He'd say, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. That's not theory. That's a declaration, a challenge, a call to arms. Because life will test you, people will disappoint you, but none of it has the power to define you unless you hand them the pen. So here's the final question: what would it take for you to stop giving people the power to hurt you? What beliefs would you need to let go of? What expectations would you need to release? What part of your ego would you need to bury? Because that's the path Marcus walked. That's the path you're being invited to walk now, not away from life but into it, with open eyes and with steady breath, with a mind that sees clearly and a heart that stays soft. Because in the end, Stoicism is not about becoming less human, but it's about becoming more fully yourself. The self that isn't reactive, the self that isn't afraid, the self that doesn't crumble when the world breaks its promises. That's the self Marcus Aurelius lived from. And that's the self that never needs to feel hurt again, not because hurt isn't real, but because you finally realize you are the one who decides what gets in. And once you truly realize it, everything changes. You don't need revenge. You don't need validation. You don't need to be understood. You just need to remember who you are, the master of your own response, the guardian of your own peace, the author of your own inner world. And nothing and no one can take that from you.